we have to prioritize the foods that come from the most diverse, resilient, and rich biomes of the planet that we were designed with, right? And what that means is that we are interconnected with those biomes by the gut, really literally by the gut, right? Because we thrive as a species by having 50, 60, 70% of the DNA that you're looking at. It's not mine. It's not coming from my father or my mother. It's really coming from the outside world. And it's coming the time, I do believe that we're gonna have a beautiful future. And I really think that it depends on the individual, right? Think of us as a species, as a network of a peer-to-peer society, of a decentralized society, which more and more we as individuals, we have to go after our truth as individuals and as a collective society, right? That there's a system out there, a lot of interdependencies, and you have the power to understand it and to influence it. That's what a hacker really is, right?
Future Hacker. Life. Path. Future.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Future Hacker. I'm your host, Maria Taiji, and today we're diving into the world of sustainability and innovation with Max Petrucci, a visionary entrepreneur who transitioned from leading roles at companies like Microsoft, Gillette, and Johnson & Johnson to co-founding Mata. Max's journey from tech to regenerative businesses was sparked by his own health challenges, leading him to explore superfoods and ultimately the Amazon, where Mata now creates positive impact through sustainable products. If you're curious about future of food and how business can drive environmental and social regeneration, hang in there. Don't forget to subscribe and share this episode with your friends as well. Hey Max, how are you?
I'm great. Hi, Maria. Thanks for the invite. Looking forward for our chat.
You know, it's really cool to have you with us today. I've been always wanting to cover more topics around, regenerative businesses and agriculture and forests. So, I think if I'm not wrong, you're the first, and I hope there are many in the future. But let's start by your journey, right? So you started your career in the tech industry. You have, important roles such as launching MSN Messenger here in Brazil and founding Aunica as well. So what inspired you to have this shift from tech to entrepreneurship focused on positive impact?
Well, it was really a personal journey in terms of actually when working in Microsoft on the headquarters. I was living in London. The headquarters were in Seattle, so I had to go there once a month. But I was in charge of a region. I was working with a region that it was really like the rest of the world was Asia Pacific, Canada, South America. So end of the day, I had to travel every single Friday. I was on a plane from 12 to 20 whatever hours. So the first year, I thought it was great because I had the opportunity to meet many different places that I have not been yet, and many different people. But the second year, I started really going downhill, and I didn't really understood what exactly was going on with myself because I was losing my inner power. Like I didn't have the willingness to wake up in the morning and do everything that I like to do. I was an amateur sports guy. Having loads of work and having fun, but my energy, my inner self was really, I could not wake up in the morning, literally. And then on year 2, I said, well, I think everything is wrong. And I then ended up my career, that was in 2005. At Microsoft, I came back to Brazil, I took a sabbatic. I said, I'm gonna take whatever it takes to, recuperate my health, to regenerate. That was not the concept that I was embracing at the time. But then after trying and experimenting with a lot of stuff, I've been into alternative health, and I was a very health conscious guy. And by health, I mean well-being. So I've been into yoga before that, probably like 7, 8 years before that, and into what I thought it was a great nutrition, right? So, but by that time in 2006, I started experimenting with different things. And when I really got into nutrition, and it was a very personal journey because at the time, nobody, you know, there were very few initiatives like Dave Asprey and Bulletproof in US. In Brazil, it was Flavio Passos with Pura Vida. So I became passionate about the subject, but again, for myself, just for healing myself. But then more and more, the things started to align. So myself looking for my personal health and well-being, my entrepreneurial spirit, like from dealing with startups for 25 years, and a third element that was basically what regeneration really is. What does it mean to myself, and what this should mean for us as a society at the very delicate and hopefully abundant point in time that we're facing as society. So putting all this stuff together, it became Mata 4 years ago.
I love it. So before we go into Mata, you mentioned that you've always been conscious about yourself and mind and body, right? And you thought that you had a good nutrition. So what was wrong with what were the main elements that you could share that you thought that you were on the right path, and then you figure out that you weren't, and what did you exactly do to feel that you really got an improvement from the changes you made?
Well, great question. And I'll try to make it simple. But basically, I think that there is the more reductionistic approach, which is in terms of what kind of macronutrients and what kind of diet, but not exactly moving towards the piece that I like the most, which is the systemic approach, right? So in terms of what type of macronutrients, what type of diet, basically, when I was an amateur marathon runner, right, I used to train a lot and I used to consume a lot of calories, which was necessary. By the time 4,200 calories minimum, right? I used to run 100K a week. It was all about carbohydrates, right? And my nutritionist, a top nutritionist at the time, was really loading me with lots of carbohydrates. And that, what I mean by polemic, is because today in the world of nutrition, there are many polemics and discussions. And I'm not a health professional, so I'm just gonna say what worked for myself. And I really think that the systemic approach is much more powerful and brings us a much broader truth than the first one, which I'm relating, which is the not systemic, the reductionist in terms of, again, where should you get your energy from in terms of macronutrients? Is it carbohydrates or is it fat, right? And my biology, and I check that by making a genetic test, I'm a fat guy, right? So what I realized is that by starting a low carb nutrition, my inflammation, right, which was the main cause of all of the diseases that I got in 2005, like the plague was just the spark, right? But it was literally a huge fire inside myself of my body was inflamed, right? It was really systemic inflammation, right? Which today, the health professionals, I would say that most of them agree that this is where everything begins. And actually it begins in your gut, right?
Yes.
That's why the systemic approach is so relevant. But again, just to try to make it simple, it was really important for me to try, test, and thrive with a low carb nutrition instead of a high carb nutrition. That's for myself. Our human species is the most adaptable species that we may know, There are guys living in Alaska that have a very different, I'm not talking about ancestral diets and ancestral cultures. And in the African savanna, we've been eating very different things. And I think that as a species, we adapt, right? But what I think that it's the most relevant thing, and it was really transformational for myself in many senses of my life, is looking at nutrition on a systemic standpoint. What does it mean? That we have to prioritize the foods that come from the most diverse, resilient, and rich biomes of the planet that we were designed with, right? What I mean by that is that we need a basically or predominantly at least plant-based diet, whole food, totally whole food, right? So let's forget about anything that it's ultra processed and stuff. And we have to try to select the foods that we eat to be the most superfoods as possible, which means a higher concentration of nutrients when compared or related to the amounts of calorie or the amounts of weight, right? And let's just be. And what that means is that we are interconnected with those biomes by the gut, really literally by the gut, right? Because we thrive as a species by having 50, 60, 70% of the DNA that you're looking at. It's not mine. It's not coming from my father or my mother. It's really coming from the outside world, from the time, I was born, the air I breathe, and most of all, which is the most predominant quantity of organic material, the food that you eat. So where is this food coming from and how is it produced? It literally changes your gut because it depends on whatever you're bringing a lot of external life, like microbacteria and all of the living things that you bring to your belly, literally, and they are responsible for a lot of biochemistry that we totally need as a species. So that is the approach that I like the most. It's a new approach. I think it's wonderful, and I'm thriving with it, and I really, motivate all of us to get into this kind of approach.
So you mentioned that you began your own quest, right? To this new nutrition path that would fit you the best. And back then, we didn't have all the resources and all the professional dedicated to that. So I'm curious, so did you use yourself as your own guinea pig? Were you just searching for information and testing it out, and then eventually you saw improvements? And as you mentioned, it's a big leap to be just testing yourself and improving your health to opening a company, and it's a completely different type of expertise and people you get to know, your network, like you were on the tech industry. So I have those two questions. One, like, how did it go, this personal journey where you're just testing yourself and seeing improvements? And you mentioned that you have this guru in Brazil as well, but still you did your own tweaks, as I understand. And what was the big move that made you really want, okay, I'm actually opening a company and figuring out the team that you need and how diverse is this team? Because I imagine their backgrounds completely different from what you were used to before, right?
Yeah, totally. Great question. And the answer is right in the top of your cap. And I'm gonna get there. So I think that we are living a wonderful, auspicious point in time as a species, right? What I mean by that is that we are really coming into a top duality, which is we are having the opportunity to get in touch with a lot of knowledge, but also with a lot of crap, right? And it's coming the time. I do believe that we're gonna have a beautiful future, and I really think that it depends on the individual, right? Think of us as a species, as a network of a peer-to-peer society, of a decentralized society which more and more we as individuals, we have to go after our truth as individuals and as a collective society, right? So basically, materializing into your question, it was a personal quest because I was not trusting, big food, big agro, big pharma, right, on what was good for myself. People were not doing it on purpose. At least at the time, that's what I thought. Today, I would say that I believe, but I mean, there's a lot of evidence that what we may call today conspiratory theories, they become sometimes the truth of tomorrow, and then maybe it will not take so much time to get there. So again, it was my personal quest, and I think that I really encourage every one of us to become hackers, and in this case, to become biohackers. There's no dogmatic truth about, should you eat carbohydrates or should we eat fat? Sorry, it really depends a lot on your biology, on your kind of life that you had, your lifestyle. And I really encourage everybody to select, 2, 3, or 4 topics that are really relevant to yourself, regardless of what's your profession or what company you work at. But to really incentivize yourself to become a hacker, right? To understand that there's a system out there with a lot of interdependencies, and you have the power to understand it and to influence it. That's what a hacker really is, right? We talk with hackers become famous on information technology systems, but you can do that on whatever system you want, right? So, and that's then the power of the individual. Today, again, in this society that is totally connected, you can have access to whatever information that you want to. We do have the power, and we have to make it happen for ourselves and for society.
I absolutely love that. And so tell me. So you had your findings, and you see the benefit in your life, and you wanted to share it, and you saw that there was a business opportunity out there to be explored. How was this very beginning?
Well, again, it was a long journey until the day that, I had an insight with a friend of mine. He had just come from the Amazon rainforest. And he said to me, well, Max, I was there, and maybe, there was some great superfoods over there. Maybe there is a lot of superfoods there. And I said, well, yeah, for sure. I mean, why the hell do I bring superfoods from all over the world, right? And all I know and all I have already tested and all that the biohackers, and I'm talking about, that was 4, maybe 5 years ago. It was pre-COVID, right? So it was 5 years ago. So why, at the time, I was listening to every podcast. I was already, have read all the books of the influencers of nutrition and all that stuff. But people didn't mention the rainforest at all. And the superfoods that people knew up to then was basically cacao, that most of them doesn't even know that it originally came from the Amazon forest. The Brazil nuts, right? Castanha do Pará, Castanha do Brasil, and açaí. And it took a gringo, it took a very nice American citizen to come to Brazil and to spread açaí all over the world. So then I said to myself, we should put some entrepreneurial positive energy into this and really research the Amazonian biodiversity and see if there is or not a huge potential to start transforming on a positive way the reality of the Amazon rainforest and consequently the planet. So that was the insight, and it proved to be absolutely true.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And so you went up there, you did your research, you put a team together. Before we get into the details involved on about Mata, I think we could, get back a step just to make sure that our listeners are familiar with the concept of regenerative, right, business and regenerative forests. And so, could you walk us through that?
Okay, I'll try to do so on a simple and short way. But basically, what regeneration means, it has a lot to do with biomimicry, which is part of science, right? That really is open to learn with nature and apply the 4 billion years knowledge and beauty of scientific execution, right? That nature practices every single day, right? Nature does everything we need, kind of, right? So in terms of energy, in terms of food, in terms of colors, right? The way that a butterfly or birds produce colors on the skin is absolutely different from what we've been doing up to now, which generates a lot of pollution and stuff. It has to do with optics. So there's a lot of beautiful science out there that nature already knows and practices. And we as a species, we are like little kids that we've been trying stuff, but we know nothing. And the way that we've been applying science, right, in order to generate human development, which is great. And we did that, right? We cannot deny that we generated a lot of wealth and material for sure. And maybe in some aspects, we didn't do a good job in the other aspects of life that are not material terms, in terms of spirituality and stuff. But in terms of solving our human needs, material needs, what regeneration brings us is the opportunity to get back to nature, reconnect ourselves with our inner nature and the outside world. And the biomes like the Amazon rainforest are amazing to do that. And again, in terms of producing food, the question is, should we still keep pushing forward and go out and giving government subsidies, right? Not paying taxes and stuff for producing monoculture soy in the Amazon rainforest, right? Which is really degrading tearing the forest down and killing all life from the soil down, right? Because this is what this type of agriculture, the monoculture agriculture, is doing in the forest and in the soil in US. I mean, that's a huge problem and there are many great people that are bringing this up, right? So this is the opposite of regeneration. Regeneration means, and agriculture, I think it's the number one and most pragmatic way of introducing regeneration in our economic cycle, is to say, no, there's a way of producing food that relates to how nature produces food, right? Like how the Amazon rainforest produces lots of great ingredients, right? And basically we're talking about agroforestry systems, which are systems that mimic the way that forests generate and regenerate life every single day. So, right, there's a way to do that. And then the questions are, oh, but is it economically viable and stuff? And we may get there if you want. But the answer is yes.
Yes. And one of the challenges when talking about the whole cycle of producing and selling a product is the challenge of having the whole thing, right? The whole cycle as being having the less negative impact as possible, right? So I'm going to try to touch base in a couple of them with you to understand how you guys are doing it. So from the very beginning, which is producing, right? So you work with local producers in Amazon. Did you have any, cultural challenges, especially given your background in different industries? Or I'd imagine that, it's a completely different market and the culture local is really different. The way you do business should be different as well. So do you have any interesting stories to share around, finding out the producers and dealing with this chain?
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, I like to say that trying to have an economic activity in the Amazon rainforest today is as wild or more wild than trying to do business in the internet in the late 90s, which I was part of. By the time we used to say that it was not the World Wide Web, it was the Wild Wild West, right? It was beautiful, it was great, but of course, I mean, no infrastructure, this didn't work, and that's okay. If you really want to innovate and when you put yourself on a entrepreneurial, situation for real, that's what you're gonna get, right? And I really love that. But again, and it was not my first adventure, and I knew that working with the Amazon rainforest, trying to do an economic activity, right, on the basis of Mata, it would be a real challenge because of all of the lack of infrastructure and culture and environment, which is not built to develop economic abundance, all of the good things that we need as a society as well. But I was, so considering that, I really went after help. And I got help for the first guy was Luis Laranja, which is a guy that is part of Mata as an advisor, was part of the first team that actually were supposed to launch in US before COVID. That's a long story. And a second guy called Almir Ortega, which is a wonderful human being, an excellent entrepreneur, and he's doing a great job on the agriculture infrastructure migration from monoculture to agroforestry systems. So I had two great advisors that showed me the way, and it proved to be right. So today, of course, we're still facing a lot of challenges. But we have a model, right?
Yes.
When you our model is proving to work. We're starting to scale. We are on a very decent level of revenues and all of the metrics that we need on a business standpoint to really look forward and say, now there's a way to really impact on a positive way the health of people, the economic reality, and all of the secondary impacts that come from that, positive impacts on the producers in the Amazon. And third, the environmental impact of that automatically comes from the way that they regenerate food, which is again the opposite of soy monoculture and its agroforestry systems.
Yeah. And it also made me wonder about all the bureaucracy that you must have faced, like regarding licenses and wow. It's just the idea that, like, made me wonder, around so many things and even logistics, right? And how make the logistics more less impactful, let's say, because naturally we don't have this solved for the whole chain yet. Anything interesting to share regarding either licenses and logistics or even packaging that I can guess that how hard it is not only to produce but having the right packaging, having the right way to processing the food to keep the nutritions in there.
Well, I think that all of the business related and more material challenges, considering the fact that we are a startup culture company, right? I'm really prioritizing bringing the most amazing talent to the company. And we really operate as a DNVB, right? We are D2C, meaning that we are a digital native vertical brand, and we are direct to consumer on the selling side, but also on the production side, on the supply chain side, we do it directly. So we're putting the best of our knowledge and passion on really understanding and developing new ways and effective ways to make the whole cycle from production to selling the most efficient as possible. And that, on that sense, I really think that it's good for the Amazonian ecosystem to have people like myself. I'm not even Brazilian. I was born in Argentina, but I worked all over the world. So I don't know what the hell am I. But now today, I'm an entrepreneur that I'm passionate about the mission of MATA, which it has an H between M-A-T-A. M-A-T-A, MATA, means forest in Brazil. And H means humanity. And our mission is really to reconnect humanity with the forest, right? So that's my passion. And that's what that's my contribution to the world. That's what makes me happy, which is to really make things happen pragmatically, right? So the fact that we're very pragmatic, and we are hackers of systems in a positive way, that turns all of these material challenges that you mentioned, up to now, they are doable, right? Now, you mentioned first, and I'm just going to make a quick point on the culture aspect of the Amazon, right? It's not an ecosystem that was built for entrepreneurship and for economic development on the way that we understand economic development, which is good in the sense that people in the forest, they have their own lifestyle, they have their ancestral lifestyle, the way they generate food, the way, what economic development really means. And you have very different types of approach, and all of them are fine. Again, it's about the individual. I don't believe in collective, dogmatic truth that have to be implemented upside down. So what I mean by that is that we deal with different types of cooperatives and associations and stuff. Some of them, they may not be empowered enough to really, to do a good job, to do a great job, but we help them, and that's absolutely okay. But some of them, they're not in that mood, right?
Yeah.
And you have to accept and you have to understand. That's totally fine. But basically, again, we find and we empower those communities that really want to help establishing this new economic positive impact reality in the Amazon region through food.
Yeah. So in a previous interview that I saw for a podcast in YouTube, I don't remember the name, but you mentioned the importance of bridging the gap between academia and entrepreneurship. How have you implemented this in your company? Are you close? I would guess the research part, maybe you're working close to universities. Any challenges you faced you'd like to share? And any tips or tricks of the trade for the startups that are wishing to go that way?
Yeah, great question again, because I think that when we talk about innovation in the startup ecosystem in Brazil, I don't see a lot of integration and collaboration between entrepreneurs and startups in the academic world. As much as you see in Israel, as much as you see in Silicon Valley, in China, there are lots of PhDs in all of these much higher developed ecosystems than in Brazil. And I think that we should do that. And in MATA, we did that from the very beginning. So a great guy that I mentioned, Luis Laranja, he's a PhD, and he was the one to say, hey, let's go talk to the guys at ESALC, which is the most prominent university of food science, like in Latin America. And we asked a first draft on the Amazonian biodiversity potential for food ingredients, right? And that's how the whole journey started, by saying, yeah, there's a lot of potential, right? Just going through the academic research that was already done, right? And in this group of 4 PhDs, there was one person that she's just amazing. She's with us now for the last 2 years. Her name is Larissa Bueno, and she is running R&D, a postdoctor, a post-PhD, amazing human being, truly connected. with our purpose, and we put a lot of effort, really a lot of effort. We're bringing a lot of innovation in terms of R&D and food ingredients in the Amazon rainforest.
So regarding R&D, are you currently making use of, are you leveraging new technologies, machine learning, AI into researching for new ingredients? Or, I don't know, are you using more traditional methods for now?
To be honest, no, we are not using any of that. We like that a lot, and I'm sure that when on a pragmatic approach, when it comes the time, we're going to use it. But I don't know. To be honest, I'm actually a little bit, how to say that? Not to say that I discredit these kind of things, but maybe sometimes there's a lot of buzz because entrepreneurs, may think that, oh, if I put AI, if I put machine learning, investors are gonna take me serious, and I'm gonna put more money into that. And I'm not really into that kind of approach. I think that you have to be very pragmatic in order to really get to innovation, and you have to start from where do I want to get and what's the best way to get it. Start by, I have to do, I have to put in place AI or this or that. I don't think it's the right way. I'm absolutely passionate about AI and decentralized systems overall. I'm a Bitcoin maximalist. I consider myself a tech guy. So I'm really into it. But today, I think that Mata is much more about ancestral intelligence than artificial intelligence, right? Just because there's, as I said before, there's so much knowledge, right, that can pragmatically be implemented in the way we produce and consume food today in our planet, that we're just not taking into consideration, that I don't really think that our priority at Mata now should be artificial intelligence.
Yeah. I completely agree with you when you say that using it just for the sake of using it and just to getting attention from investors, and that's what you see the most in the market currently. You actually see startups saying, we are AI based only on the PowerPoint and only to get the attention. And then, after they're able to get the money, then let's go through, let's develop that right away, right? So what made me wonder and making the connection with the health industry is to see how they are using, pharma companies and even universities, how they are currently using AI and machine learning to find combinations. If we take it to the health industry, like combination of ingredients and medicines to accelerate the process of finding new drugs, right? And when I was reading about you, and I was just wondering, like, getting the match of the right ingredients at the end that's the art behind that, right? And that's the reason, the connection, because people say that it really speeds up the process of whatever you're doing manually and trying to match. You can use the technology in pro just by trying to find new matches that wouldn't occur human. But that's just a provocation that I'm leaving to you, and just because of this connection. Yes, sure, go ahead.
Sure. No, I totally believe in that. But again, I think that being an entrepreneur is, first of all, connecting idealism with pragmatism. I consider myself a pragmatic idealist, right? And that's what I really try to be more and more every single day of my life. And I really think that we're going to get there, right? So AI is going to be the most transformational tool that humanity had, I don't know, comparable to fire and stuff. That's what all of the smart people that I try to learn from, that's what they're saying. Who am I to try to deny? what I'm saying is, sure, I'm totally, I'm plugged, I'm trying to learn. I have a couple of people in our team that are much better than myself and stuff. But specifically to what you said, which is to AI accelerating research, that's going to happen. But today, at our point in time, uh, having a very pragmatic and idealistic um, researcher, right? Forgot the word that I was going to say. The people that transform Earth into gold. They had a name back in our past of sorry.
The alchemists.
Yes, exactly,
Yes.
right? We have an amazing alchemist, right? Uses a lot of intuition, a lot of ancestral intelligence, and a lot of current science that it's already there. And we are coming to wonderful products that are really, we are having a great success from our customers. We already got a lot of awards, some international awards in terms of product innovation. So it's working, right? And what I really think from what you said, which is basically the potential of technology, AI, and all of its ways to get there, through machine learning, through sensors and IoT and all this stuff, which is personalized nutrition. Personalized nutrition is going to be crucial, right? It's got to be doable. I a lot of the research and experimentation and iteration that I had to do with myself, can you just imagine if I had like a microchip in my gut, really tell me what's going on when I eat this food or that food? That's gonna happen. How much time is it gonna take? 3, 5, 7 years? I don't know. But I'm not gonna be the one to develop the technology of the of the nano whatever in my gut, right? But absolutely, math is gonna be in the frontier of all these new technologies and connecting all of the artificial intelligence, to put it a name, right, of all of these technologies with the ancestral intelligence from nature, right, which is regeneration.
Yes, yes. And so I think you just touched one of my questions now, that it was, what do you believe is the future of the superfoods market? So that's the way, is the personalized nutrition,
Yeah.
just as the future of health is the personalized, less invasive health treatments.
Absolutely.
Knowing exactly what's going on in your body and then consuming things, and now we're not talking about drugs, right? We're talking about nutrition, we're talking about food, being less
Absolutely.
aggressive, being less invasive, and being more personalized to what your body is facing right now. And I actually thought you were quite optimistic to say that maybe it's coming around 5 years, so it's pretty close, right? 5 years, 7 years, that we don't know, but that's the way that you're seeing us heading, right?
Well, I don't. I'm not generating this knowledge. I don't have the capability. Now it's gonna be 5 or 7, but I'm really into the singularity guys, because I studied there and I follow their journey, and most of all, Peter Diamandis, he's really into longevity now, which is a subject that I've been into for 12 years. And that's basically what they say and what they show, right? Of how AI, machine learning, IoT, and all the combination with different sciences, the impact in longevity. And as you said, basically the way to get there is, fact driven. So it's information driven. It's get to know exactly what's going on your personal biology, right? And what are the ways to optimize that? And it has to do, tracking your sleep. I've been doing that for 5 years. Tracking your food. I've been doing this on an app. I mean, I am a fact-driven guy, an information-driven guy, and definitely technology is getting there, and it's gonna get, an amazing combination again of technology with ourselves. I really also believe in our self wisdom, right? In terms of going after consciousness and being conscious of ourselves, first of all, right? And this combination, I think, is going to be powerful, and it's going to bring us a positive future. right? I hope.
Yes, yes. So what's the next big thing for you and Mata? What's the next big challenge, if you can say, right?
Well, there's so many, but so basically, I think that we are very close to closing the loop of a scale up moment in Brazil, right? So we've been now exactly this month, we're completing 2 years operation. And I think that with a little less of 1 year, we achieved our product market fit with our first product, which is the Amazon and Superfoods shake of 14 ingredients. Now we already launched 2 more products, which is the plant-based milk, the first plant-based milk in the world, made of Brazil nuts powder, right? So it's a powder. And the third one is a functional coffee made of lots of bio ingredients from the forest. So, but now our next challenge is to get to profitability, and our business plan is to get there in 6 or 9 months between that period, which means K1 or K2 or of next year, and by which we are on a very nice path to get there. Now, the second stage of the journey is really going back to the original plan that was to launch in US. That was before COVID. When COVID came, it changed up my plans because I was the one from the regional founders team that stayed in the business, and I rearranged the business completely to launch in Brazil. So the second stage of the business, and that's going to be a huge step, is to really, make humanity reconnected to the forest outside of Brazil.
No, huge market out there for sure. So for anyone that is listening right now and like to try your products, what's the path?
Well, if not in Brazil, we are already with one product, our main product, the Superfoods mix, in Amazon.com in US.
Oh, great.
Yeah, we did that on a very humble and simple way. We were approached by Amazon US actually, and we said, yeah, cool, let's do that as a test. But that's the way to do it. Otherwise, just through our website in Brazil, but I'm not sure what countries you could ship it or not. But we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there.
You will.
Yeah, next year, and we are already designing the Series A funding, which with the objective to go after our biggest mission of taking the Amazon rainforest to the world and connecting all of these biohackers on a good way, ancestral intelligence biohackers with the beauty of the Amazon rainforest, and generate all of this positive impact that it's our mission.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Max. It was amazing to talk to you, and we're cheering for you. Let's hope that in a year you can come back here and tell us all about your experience in going global.
Well, thanks a lot, Maria. Wonderful work of Future Hacker. I'm really happy to be part of this community, and I hope we can help shaping a better world, because we need it.
We need it, definitely. Cheers, everybody. Thank you for listening.
Bye-bye.
Future Hacker. Life. Path. Future.